Sarah is a young woman who goes to look for a rented apartment. The door opens on its own as it has CCTV surveillance outside. A guy named Brian says that it was set up after a break-in. She walks in, and the place has a friendly vibe. She sees a woman named Edie suddenly wobbling. She immediately reaches for help, and Edie thanks her as well. She walks into the room, and the manager, Jerry, welcomes her and asks her to take a look. She looks around but finds some random pastings on the wall, but she doesn't think much about it. She tells Jerry that she moved away from her family to start a new life. Jerry asks if she has any pets, to which she replies negatively. But that's a lie, as she has a cat. She gets a call from her estranged father, who says that she should get a real job instead of trying to make it as a fashion designer. But she has had enough of him and says that she is busy and cannot take the call. She meets with her coworker Lisa, who is fierce and confident, exactly the opposite of her. Just then, she gets a call letting her know that her application has been approved. She is moving in, but trying to keep her cat hidden. Brian comes out and offers help. He calls up everyone to lend a helping hand, but Sarah flees out of there. Later, she joins everyone for a barbecue. Edie introduces her to her extremely friendly neighbors. She meets with Janice, Jerry's wife. A creepy guy named Lester comes there and offers a book called The Power of Community, but refuses it and leaves from there. She's attracted to Brian and picks up a conversation with him. He says that in the apartment, they live as a family and take care of each other. She excuses herself and offers to drop Edie off at her place. Edie used to be a yesteryear actor, but she says that she has been in a very happy space since she moved here. At night, she takes out a sewing machine that was left by her mother, which makes her emotional. She takes out her medicine, but she is out of stock. Sarah goes to sleep, but instead she hears noises coming from nowhere. The following morning, Sarah continues to move her stuff in. Brian comes there at that moment and helps her with the stuff, but Sarah doesn't let him get inside the apartment as she is hiding her cat inside. The noise keeps on disturbing her every single night until one night when she hears noises coming from within her apartment. She gets up and, to her horror, finds her apartment door open. She then tries to sleep despite the strange sounds that keep interrupting her sleep. Slowly, the lack of sleep takes a toll on her. And to add to the misery, she suddenly gets a letter delivered under her apartment door. It turns out to be a threat against her cat, indicating that someone knows about it. She freaks out and immediately leaves to check who it could be, but no one seems to stick out like a sore thumb. Suddenly, her eyes meet Lester, and she asks him to stop, but he immediately runs away. Just then, Brian comes out of his room and says that he is going to have a dinner party tonight and invites her to join him. Although she's not in the mood, but still agrees. Sarah's boss keeps abusing her power and bombarding her with work, but she is so mousy that she can't do anything about it. Lisa feels sorry for her and says that she can't let people walk all over her. At night, Lisa comes to her apartment, but she suddenly realizes that she was supposed to attend a party. Brian comes out of his apartment, but Sarah says that she already has company. Both the girls chat, and upon asking, Sarah reveals that his father was having an affair with his mother's nurse, who was on her deathbed bed, but she never had the guts to tell her mother about it. And after her death, the secret tainted their relationship. Later that night, Sarah is abruptly awakened by a noise and the scent of something burning in her room. She investigates and once again discovers a threatening letter regarding her cat. Her worst fears are realized when she finds that her cat has been baked to death. Suddenly, a figure grabs her from behind. The mysterious man quickly restrains her to a chair, leading Sarah to suspect that he is Lester. She pleads with him not to harm her, but the man reveals himself to be Brian. Sarah is left in shock. She observes Brian preparing to inject her with an anesthetic. Fortunately, Sarah manages to break free by shattering the chair. She then cries out for help and encounters another neighbor. However, this neighbor is also part of the scheme, and together they subdue her with a taser. Sarah is subsequently taken to a room where other residents of the apartment are already gathered. It becomes clear that this act was originally intended to occur at the previous dinner party. Brian then administers an anesthetic injection to Sarah. Afterward, she regains consciousness in a room with a window that has been boarded up. Realizing she is in prison, Sarah screams for assistance, but her cries go unanswered. Shortly thereafter, Brian and Jerry enter the room. Brian instructs Sarah to face the wall and place her hands against it. Jerry then informs her that no one will come looking for her, including her friend, who has been misled by a fraudulent message. Initially, Sarah resists their command, but Jerry calls Lester and reveals the consequences of her noncompliance. Lester's left eye and ear have been punctured as punishment. This frightens Sarah, compelling her to obey their orders. She must remain in that position and is only allowed to rest when the red light beside her turns off. Furthermore, Sarah endures this position while being tormented by a loud song, exacerbating her suffering. As time goes by, Sarah, unable to bear it any longer, ultimately collapses even though the red light remains illuminated. Soon, Jerry and Brian return to her, instead of permitting her to rest. The two men punish her for her actions by nailing her hands to the wall. At this moment, Sarah uncovers the truth from the patches she had noticed earlier. Brian states that he is now assisting Sarah, and she must maintain her position. Sarah has been standing for such an extended period that she begins to hallucinate. In her hallucination, her father appears and tells her that she is a failure and that her mother despised her. Soon, the music ceases, and she tears her hand from the walls, collapsing unconscious. Brian and Jerry then re-enter the room, assuming that Sarah has successfully passed the trial. Following this, Sarah is taken out for treatment of her injuries. After the incident, she is treated kindly by the residents. They also reveal their hands, which, like Sarah's, bear scars. Subsequently, Jerry and Brian commence their interview with Sarah, which includes a polygraph test. At this juncture, she is questioned about her sexual preference and her first sexual experience. Jerry underscores that transparency is one of the cornerstones of their community, and no one is permitted to harbor any secrets. Sarah receives a book entitled The Power of Community, which is the same one Lester had previously offered her. She starts to delve deeper into the concept of this community and begins to grasp its purpose. Their aim is to establish a community primarily focused on fostering social connections. Subsequently, she undergoes another interview where she is questioned about the 4 foundations. She identifies these foundations as selflessness, openness, acceptance, and security. Eventually, they inquire if Sarah wishes to join this community, to which she responds affirmatively. However, the deception is uncovered. She is then presented with another chance to gain further insight into the community. Consequently, she is escorted to a classroom where children are being educated about the community via a videotape. The recording features an interview with a man named Charles Ellerby. The community is a manifestation of his disturbed psyche. Sarah gradually starts to comprehend the 4 foundations, beginning with selflessness, openness, acceptance, and security. Regarding security, Charles Ellerby stated that individuals are at their best when they are aware that their neighbors are observing. By adhering to these 4 foundations, the community can exist free from loneliness, poverty, and conflict. Jerry now believes that Sarah is prepared to assume greater responsibilities within the community. As a result, she is taken to a room that is revealed to be a monitoring center for all residents' activities within the apartment. This clarifies why they appear to be aware of Sarah's every action. While they monitor all residents, it is also discovered that there is a CCTV camera positioned behind them. Sarah attempts to inquire about who is observing them, but Brian informs her that it is not their concern and instructs her to return to monitoring the screen. On the monitor, she observes Edie experiencing shortness of breath and collapsing. Sarah promptly signals Brian to assist the elderly woman. Consequently, she receives commendation from Jerry for her promptness in fulfilling her duties. At that moment, all the residents of the apartment had gathered to visit her. Brian then begins to recount all the contributions she has made to the community during her residency. Initially, everything appears to be normal until he eventually utters something that resembles farewell remarks. Sarah begins to feel anxious upon noticing that the gas tube is prepared. Brian then informs her that Ms. Stanhope has been deemed unable to contribute further to the community, and they lack the resources to care for her any longer. Strangely, Edie accepts this and behaves as if she anticipated this outcome. Sarah is compelled to suppress her emotions as she witnesses Edie's head being covered with black paint, plastic, and poisonous gases being introduced directly into the plastic. Following her passing, Brian shares his experiences from the early days of joining the community. He reassures Sarah that this community has provided him with significant support. After that traumatic event, Sarah ultimately consents to become a member of the community. She is then escorted into the courtyard, where it becomes evident that the other residents are already present to welcome her into their fold. She is taken by surprise when she realizes that she will be marked behind her ear with a hot iron. Subsequently, Brian highlights that everyone present bears the same mark. During the celebration, Lester receives a call to join them. Jerry mentions that he has been alone since his wife's death from cancer, suggesting that Sarah would be an excellent match for him. Subsequently, Jerry marries them and compels them to kiss, which repulses Sarah. Like a typical newlywed couple, Lester promptly takes Sarah to his apartment. She is then informed that her previous apartment is no longer hers and has been assigned to a new candidate. Lester quickly leads her to the bed, which understandably makes Sarah feel uneasy. Suddenly, Jerry arrives, announcing that they are in a predicament. The issue arises when they discover that Sarah's father has come to visit her. Jerry warns her that she must ensure her father does not return or he will be killed. Following this, They refurbish an empty apartment to resemble Sarah's former home. Eventually, Sarah is granted the chance to see her father after a lengthy separation. However, she is coerced into cursing him, claiming she had revealed the truth to her mother. In a fit of rage, he slaps her and vows never to see her again. After this altercation, Lester brings Sarah back to bed. It becomes apparent that Lester wishes to show her the sewing machine her mother had given her. He confides that he had contemplated escaping from their situation, risking his life in the process. Nevertheless, they come to terms with the reality of their lives. As time passes, Sarah gradually acclimates to the community until it is time to fill the vacant apartment once more. At this juncture, Sarah is taken aback and anxious upon seeing Lisa attempting to apply for the available apartment. Lisa is soon chosen as the new tenant, and they resume their actions. Sarah ultimately realizes that the disturbances she has been experiencing nightly are merely fabricated noises intended to induce stress and discomfort. Furthermore, they exert every effort to sever Lisa from her past life by concocting false narratives. However, Sarah asserts that Lisa is a resilient individual who will undoubtedly fight back, and her assessment proves to be accurate. Just as they are about to seize Lisa, she retaliates by biting Brian's ear. Consequently, Sarah is sent in to pacify her friend, but she is unsuccessful in her attempt. As Lisa persists in her struggle, she faces punishment by having her earlobe pierced with a screwdriver. At that critical moment, Jerry instructs Sarah to hold the screwdriver. Just as Jerry is about to strike, Sarah can no longer contain her emotions and plunges the screwdriver into Jerry's neck. Following this, both Sarah and Lisa hastily exit the room. Suddenly, Jerry shoots Lisa dead. In a fit of rage, Sarah attacks him and kills him. At this juncture, she feels a sense of confusion as she observes that Jerry, the manager, bears the same mark on his hands and behind his ear. She then exits while brandishing a gun as an alarm begins to blare, signaling that something dire is occurring. All the residents emerge and encircle her, including Brian. Brian attempts to deceive Sarah with his falsehoods, claiming that she lacks the courage to kill someone, but Sarah shoots him. Sarah then dashes towards the entrance door, but just as she nearly escapes, she is apprehended, and the gun is taken from her by Lester. In a surprising turn of events, Lester shoots the man who was restraining Sarah and urges her to flee immediately. Meanwhile, Lester holds back the residents who are trying to pursue Sarah before taking his own life with a gunshot. As she runs down the street, drenched in blood, she pauses when she encounters a sign featuring a logo that resembles the one associated with the community. Additionally, bizarre occurrences continue as the same alarm blares from every building in sight. It is at this moment that Sarah realizes the community is not merely confined to her apartment. Rather, all the blocks appear to be under the sway of Charles D. Ellerby's twisted vision of an ideal community. Furthermore, the presence of CCTV cameras suggests that someone is monitoring their actions. Ultimately, she clenches her fist and braces herself to flee for her life. So, that was the recap for the 2019 film 1BR. For more recaps like this, subscribe to the channel. And if you have liked this video, you may also like this.